Hi, I'm James Shillinglaw for Insider Travel Report, and I'm here today with Hector de Castor, who's the president of Regenera Luxury. Now, what is Regenera Luxury? Well, that's what we're here to find out. It's been around for a little while now, but we're going to talk to him about this. It's a hotel group focused on regenerative travel and also helping hotels adapt and become regenerative and also certify them as that as well. But that's part of it. But Hector's going to explain it a lot better than I can. And you're going to find out about all that and more on Insider Travel Report. Hector, great to see you. How are you? Where are you? What's your background there? I can't tell.
Well, at the moment, I'm in Spain. I live part of the year in Spain and part of the year back in the Caribbean, where I'm also professor at university and, making the most of both lifestyles.
Fantastic. Now, tell us a little bit about Regenera Luxury. What is it and when was it formed?
Well, absolutely. Regional Luxury is the world's first regenerative management program with a certification created specifically for hotels and retreats.
Right.
And we started on this in 2024 after a few years of PhD research, feet on the ground experience. In my case, after about 20 years working with hotel developers and corporate offices in Southeast Asia, Middle East, obviously in Europe and back in the Americas. And in the end, well, I always saw that, in the hospitality industry, we needed something far more robust than a label, seals, and checklist with whatever KPIs. In the end, there was a gap, yeah, that we needed, and I wanted to give answer and considering specifically boutique hospitality and the people behind. Nowadays, what we have created is this framework with 9 sections, about 270 different KPIs, with dashboards, AI, and always with independent audits, independent auditors to build trust and transparency and always continuous improvement, collaborating at this very moment with different universities within Europe and in America as well. So James, when I talk about regional luxury, we are not talking about a checklist or a
Right.
certification. Yes, the final outcome of the piece, the top of the cake, is that hotels, retreats, destinations, they achieve successfully this logo or seal. But it's a full management system, a full program to actually build regenerative business models with credibility, with discipline, and positive outcomes in the end.
Well, that's the overview, and we're going to drill down a little bit into each part of that. What did you see? Why did you form Regenera at this time? What trends in the luxury market did you see that it was time to sort of focus on a regenerative brand?
Well, several things converge. On one side, at personal level, I wanted really to give something back after that 20 something years. I told you I was working for others,
Right.
even investment funds, listed companies. At the same time, being in my case, the fourth generation in a family group, company group back in Spain. And I wanted to create something meaningful beyond myself, beyond profits, beyond financials, to create something that to be proud of.
Right.
It's
Right.
worth the time. Specifically thinking of communities and people behind green lights and dashboards. That was one personal shift, and this when I joined the university. I studied with the research, and in the end, is what nowadays is regional luxury. But beyond that personal experience at industry level and global market, there is an absolutely clear shift and needs. So there is a clear inflection point. We do know a few statistics about 11 trillion US dollars to global GDP when it comes to talk about tourism industry. We are talking about 400 million jobs. So we are not talking about, peanuts. It's not a niche conversation anymore.
Right.
At the same time, when we are talking about wellness, in our case, a more broader or more holistic concept, we are talking nearly about 900 billion US dollars in last years. I mean, hello. And travelers are not asking nowadays only for, luxury does not equal expensive at all. We expect to receive much more than an standard experience. We want to feel that we are part of something meaningful, we contribute. And in the end, that is the seed of the regenerative concept. In my view, and supported also or aligned with lots of colleagues across the globe, regeneration in the end is when we actively, from the very beginning, we create something to grow into the net positive impact, not
Right, right.
minimizing harm, not reducing our impact, but actually to build something healthier, ecologically stronger, socially richer, culturally, and nowadays really relevant, more resilient when it comes to talk about the current geopolitics. Well, resilience is actually one key point here in our model. And we do have actually a full module specifically for that. This is the shift that we saw coming, and that is where we are at the moment, James.
Yeah, and actually it drills down to the question of, and you've already talked a little bit about this, the difference between uh, sustainable and regenerative. What exactly is that difference?
Well, it is absolutely critical to understand that we are not playing with words. It is not, it's got a scientific base when it comes to talk about regeneration. It is a natural evolution of sustainability. In the end, when we were talking decades ago about being sustainable, be green, eco luxury or whatever, that started 40 years ago.
Oh yeah, I was
So
around.
actually, and the world keeps on moving. So it actually makes absolutely sense that after two, three generations later, on the how everything is moving so rapidly, also the very concept at operational level and even in our decision-making processes also evolves. And that is actually regeneration. Yes, it does not replace sustainability. So in the end, James, we cannot talk at all about being regenerative if we are not sustainable. Sustainability is the baseline.
That's the
But
baseline, and this
regeneration
is
in the
going
end,
beyond that then. So
absolutely,
yeah,
absolutely.
so it's going absolutely beyond. Now, how do you help hotels become regenerative as opposed to merely sustainable? What are the programs that you have to help them?
Well, this is actually a key question, so I do appreciate it. Seals, KPIs, manuals are not the solution at all.
Right,
So basically, we study by creating a full package of services considering the long term and the impact, combining both financials in the short term, but actually sustainability, yeah, in that improvements in the long run. What we have is something similar to an ERP concept. We call it the Regenerative Management Program, and it is a full package studied by education through our Regional Luxury Institute. So actually, beyond training the independent auditors, we also train the on-site decision makers in every hotel or retreat, the persons in charge. We also, another key point is that we don't give a manual and see you by in 6 months' time or an
right,
auditor will come over to check whatever checklist. No, actually, we are working with them on site for that 4, 5, 6, 7 months, whatever the period of time might take, depending on the very individual case. But we are with them doing what it takes so that we actually make sure that the evolution is happening and they are actually implementing that or taking care of that tasks. Every individual case, it's absolutely a bespoke action plan because of that consultant, a senior consultant working along with the local
so it's
teams.
really
And
one-on-one consulting actively.
one-on-one is
Yeah,
education, is consulting with training, is also marketing accelerator and revenue. We help them as well. And in the end, we also with booking platforms and international visibility, all that together is what actually makes a difference because we hit on corporate culture, but also on the financials and also the experience at operational level,
right.
let's say in every property. Basically, that is about financial resilience. I said, very, very relevant nowadays. And
Yeah,
that is the final outcome, and we have it always on the table. But with our values, does not make sense at all. I mean, we
right.
are not talking here about generating profits only. We are actually here about proving with data, with transparency, that we do care and we want to do something better. And how to do that? The year you have the management system to make use of it. Yeah, and how to do it? We provided the training. Who cares and how is it going to happen? We do it along with you. And
Right.
is it going to work? Then you have the independent outlet. And then you monetize that through your marketing or whatever. But all
Right.
together is what actually makes the big difference.
Yeah, of course, though you do certify hotels as regenerative, right? And after you've done all this work and now they're regenerative, how and you have a collection of these, how many hotels have you certified so far?
Yeah, at the moment, so we are working with the whole community, about 100 hotels.
Okay.
About out of them, about 50 they are already advancing, but not here in different stages. Not all of them are
Right.
certified. Some of them are in the pre-certification stage. Some others are with the independent audit process. Depending on the very individual. To name a few, we are talking about small collections like Casa 1800 or 1800 back in Granada and Seville in the south of Spain,
Right.
or Hotel 47, luxury boutique hotel in Rome, downtown,
Okay.
Sweet Tree, Wellness Center in Costa Rica, or some others, even biodiversity-led projects such as Asa Wright or Mont Plaisir in Trinidad Island in the Caribbean. So there's different cases that we can, check and review what is going on. But the growth is happening rapidly. We are at this very moment present already in 18 countries. And well, very welcome. Actually, ITV Berlin, where we were taking part in different panels, also at judges at different awards with colleagues of UN Tourism and some other organizations.
Right.
Regeneration is a hot topic. We know that,
Yeah.
but I try to balance that it's not about the word; it is about actually the implementation and the values. Yes. So you want to actually improve your impact. Here you have the roadmap. You need a management, or you need a tool on actually how to make sure that your people, your team do the right thing. Here you have it. Yeah. So in the end, it's about willing to do it. I'm not talking so much about what is the return on investment in 2 months' time.
Right.
Yeah, we will get there, but first, please, always values. And yes, obviously, we get the financial resiliency and the positive outcomes, but as the awards as well. Actually, we launched that recently with different colleagues of international media also made a go of that. But we know hotels in the end, let's say, embrace and they love and they need actually these kind of recognitions. So we provide that as well, along with the
Right.
seal. But they only will achieve the awards metric based, full
Right.
transparency, no judges, no opinions. That
Okay.
exactly the same policy when it comes to talk about the certification. We own it, but it will be only achieved or awarded if that independent audit process says so.
Yeah. And so you are kind of a very different organization from other groups that certify or collect sustainable hotels. I'm thinking of groups like Beyond Green, and then you have LEED certified. You have all these different groups that have either collections or something that hotels can put on their, on the bottom of their hotel. We are LEED certified. We are a Beyond Green hotel. But this is a little
Correct.
different, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, my great deal of respect to John Green and colleagues. They have helped elevate sustainability conversation last
Right.
years. I mean, no doubt about that, along with other relevant organizations. To mention a few, GSTC, colleagues from Green Globe, AirCheck. I mean, we have learned from them and working with them at certain points or in
Right.
my past as developer and auditor. But very focused on sustainability and traditionally more on the environmental approach. And that is the difference. So actually, at this moment, we are working with hotels already certified or experienced working with these organizations, and we collaborate. So we do not replace at all. We complement. We keep on moving forward, and we keep on helping. If you want to actually evolve beyond sustainability, if you want to grow toward regenerative luxury, understanding that regeneration, positive outcomes on purpose with management system, yeah, and metrics. And second, luxury, not only about expensive. We don't talk only about price or
Right.
pricing. We also talk about culture. We talk about legacy. We talk about integration. Yeah. So actually, we are creating metrics for that. Yeah.
That's fantastic. Now, uh, we go out to about 125,000 travel advisors here in the States and Canada. Also, obviously, a lot of suppliers. How can our travel advisors, what should our travel advisors know about Regenera Luxury, and how can they use your resources to better sell this regenerative hotels to their clients?
Well, the first key point is credibility. Nowadays, there's a hell of seals and stamps and certifications or whatever manuals out there. Some of them highly reliable, some others, well, not that much in my opinion. But that is a reality that we have in the market, and there's a product for every individual. Yeah. But what we provide here and we bring to the table is credibility of the whole process.
Got it.
Very transparent resource management system, very clear with dashboards and a full platform for the auditor, a full platform for the client, hotels or destinations, a full platform as well for the consulting process, all together and connected with evidences so that the traceability, we also comply with the European Union norms to
Mhm.
avoid, greenwashing, all these kind of things.
Yeah.
Second key point or added value for all the community, the storytelling power. I mean, we are giving and providing a different story, different words, different narrative beyond sustainability. With greenwashing, might be true, might be not. We talk about regeneration. We talk
Right.
about regenerative luxury, but based on data. Yes, so actually we combine credibility, trust with competitive advantage, a different narrative storytelling power, and that implies also a differentiation. So actually that is something of relevance, in my opinion, for all the community. They might talk about something different with
Yeah.
data or different, based on trust, yeah, and metrics.
Yeah.
This is really relevant. I mean, no need to mention Virtuoso recently. I mean, different reports and researches are already talking about this, that luxury travelers are willing to find something, different. Greenwashing is always there, and we need to find or we need to define and design our, tools and resources to actually balance that if we want to acquire or we want to become more attractive for that high-end
Sure.
tourists because actually they don't know decision making process and booking platforms. Okay, why should I go to your place and not to your neighbor? So actually, in my opinion, they do need tools that help them to explain why a property is genuinely different when they
Yeah.
actually are doing the right thing for real. And that goes beyond websites, beyond Instagrams, and beyond these kind of things or influencers. Actually, that is based on data with clear processes, and not only data, a clear process, because there are also lots of individuals or independent properties doing the right thing, but not clear on how they go to that data. So we need to combine both transparency, clear data, management system, and in the end, yes, we also support them in terms of international visibility, these specialized booking platforms, and so on.
That's great. Now, what does the future hold for Regenera Luxury? What will you continue to really help hotels become regenerative? Will you continue to certify hotels as regenerative? Will you continue to get the word out about what this difference is in terms of being regenerative?
The core, the absolutely baseline, and realistically, it is make a difference and show leading by example that it is possible to grow profits at the same time that we are impacting positive in destinations. That is the reality, can be done. And there are lots of people, successful people out there and case studies already doing that. Um, but quite unknown because they are isolated cases, individual properties in different parts of the world. And we want to actually boost that visibility. It's not only about big hotel groups, with all my respects, and they are welcome to actually move beyond. If you have the skills, if you have the budget, if
Right.
you have the workforce, why aren't you actually already doing it? Yes, or more ambitious? Yes, that is one of the challenges. So that is what future brings. Hopefully, we will increase by 10, let's say, the baseline of existing hotels in every country,
Okay.
case studies with data, and multiplying that in the coming years. But in the end, not talking about the individual cash flow forecast, which in the end is a reality and a need, but we talk about living systems. We talk about communities and destinations. And when we consider that, it goes beyond our, let's say, individual financials. And we also consider what it takes in different stakeholders. So that is what is nice to think, the legacy and the difference. It's not only about my pocket, but it's about our people. And it's not only about my house, it's about my neighborhood
Yeah, no,
somehow.
well, it
Yeah.
is. It's an ecosystem, and it has to be. Yeah, well, as you know, all these terms, wellness, regenerative, sustainable, the question that was always in my mind is how can travel advisors communicate these to their clients and actually
Yeah.
get them to understand. Some clients go in there looking at this because they've heard about it, but others
Yeah.
are not going to understand it until you explain it to them.
And it will take time because there's a clear learning curve. And there's also another key point here, which is nobody's going to do anything until the headquarters says so.
Right. That's
Yeah.
true.
So and that it's not about budget. It's about if you are brave, or if you are the one actually pioneering or willing to take the first step forward, saying, "Hey, I knew that being sustainable was good. Yes, nowadays, but what about 20 years ago?" So
Yeah.
now with regeneration, something like that. Now they are a group of people, really, beautiful people with very fresh and growing and profitable businesses, not only in terms of financials, but at different levels. It's good for the community and for the employee. And we are helping them to think and also to build or to advance in, professionalizing somehow or
Okay.
to grow and to scale that models. Now, the industry shift will happen in terms of the very key question that you made. What was your first question? How many hotels? So
Yeah.
when we get to the point that we are able to say, hey, James, 5,000 hotels across the globe. Well, bravo. But that will never be pioneering. That will be reactive. And that will never be anymore about actually willing to do, but I do it because I have to. Yes.
Yeah, that's
So
true.
now we are in that first stage on actually I do it because I want to do it better. And hopefully those luxury brands who have, again, the budget, who have the skills, who are actually the leaders in the niche, they should be doing this, but not because they are already doing it with
Right.
transparency. Yes, and not because Instagram or beautiful base or beautiful
Yeah.
properties. Also considering different dimensions with metrics in the end. Yes, and
Fantastic.
traceability.
Well, is there anything else you want to tell our 125,000 travel advisors about Regenera Luxury? And also, what is your website where they can go to learn more about it?
Absolutely. The website is, www.regenera.luxury. And then for those who want to participate as nominees in our awards by the end of the year, it's so easy as going to awards.regenera.luxury, and all of them are welcome. So please join us. We are making the difference. All are welcome and rooted in values with experience, feet on the ground, and let's make it happen.
Absolutely. Well, Hector, it's been great meeting you online. Sorry we couldn't meet in person, but it's a fascinating organization and really crucial at this time, given the trends that we're seeing. Because we have moved up beyond. We used to call it ecotourism, right?
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
green
Yeah,
green globe and all these
all
terms that
times.
I grew up with in the 90s. And now
So it
we
is.
moved to sustainable, and now we're going to regenerative. And
Absolutely.
this is a
Absolutely.
sort of it just keeps on growing and moving in all these different directions because these terms don't hadn't really fulfilled everything that needs to be done, right?
That's it. And I tell you, I mean, I recall 25 years ago when I started in Southeast Asia working with unlearning from, Soneva, Six Senses,
All right. Yeah.
Alila, Shangri-La, Junior by that time. I was absolutely experiencing a very, very different way of understanding what luxury means, and also a very different way of taking the decisions when it comes to talk about investments or the master plan and defining everything, how everything was thought. Very different than when I was back in Spain and going to Mallorca or to other headquarters of well-known Spanish hotel groups with the all-inclusive concept, mainly in the Caribbean. Very different hospitality industry, very different
Got it.
models. And when you experience both at the same time, yeah, is when you feel actually that both are tourism, both are hospitality, both are in the end moving people from one place to another, but with a so different impact or so different way of taking decisions. And yes, after that time, in the end, we are not talking about sustainability or being green or not. Nobody dares, in my opinion, to say, I don't care about the environment. I
Yeah,
don't care
not
about
now.
people at all. The point is, if you actually care or if you, greenwashing. If you do care, hopefully we all care and we want to do something better, is when who actually has the budget, the resources, the time, or the power in the industry to lead by example, to take the first step forward and say, yes, we are doing it already. A few key examples out there beyond, Banyan Tree or Six Senses when it comes to talk about, corporate offices. Nihi recently, I was talking with James and some others, doing the right thing. Yeah, but it's not about talking about individuals or top brands. I rather focus on the other 90% of the industry and boutique hospitality and the families behind these boutique hotels or small collections. Yeah, what is going on with them in their destinations, with the culture, with the legacy, since they actually are the ones who own that, they have the roots, but they don't have the resources, or they don't have the time, or they have
Right.
these needs, of cash flow in the short term. So making a different or taking different decisions is quite more complex for them, and that is where we are. That's why it's so important not talking about KPIs, manual checklists, and headaches, but providing solutions. Now, our resources are also limited, so
Yeah.
happy to welcome any kind of support from
Okay.
anyone listening here. In the end, we work as NGO, and we started everything as such, willing to do something, joining universities, taking research. We did it, we fit on the ground experience, but, and here we are. So join us.
Hector, again, thank you. Great to meet you. Hopefully, we'll meet in person soon, one of these days. And I want to thank you for taking the time to speak to us about this, about Regenera Luxury and what you're doing. And I think it is so crucial. Again, I'm James Shillinglaw, and this is Insider Travel Report.